Hi, everybody. This is Bob Ost, and it's Friday, September 10th. I hope everybody had a nice Labor Day weekend last weekend and probably even a long weekend. Of course, what is a long weekend now that we've been through COVID? I mean, every weekend has been a long weekend. Um, but we're back in a world that is approaching uh, live participation of things. I mean, we have the ability to go out and socialize and go to theater live, and all sorts of things are going on. I'm not so sure that we're out of the woods yet. I've said this before. I think that, like I said last week, there are more letters in the Greek alphabet, so we all need to be cautious and careful. But at least we are back to live theater in some situations, and we can go to dinner, and we still should wear masks, and we should be careful. And I hope that everybody is vaccinated. Someday I will I will have a conversation with people who don't want to get vaccinated and try to figure that out. I don't understand it. It seems like this is something we not only do for ourselves, but we also do it for our community. Um, okay. Uh, so so today we've been talking about a lot of things since April 17th, 2020. Um, Different ways of making theater, specifically during a shutdown, isolated performance, Zoom performance, the difference between a Zoom reading and a live reading, podcasts. We've covered a lot of stuff. We haven't really talked yet about today's topic, which is basically, very simply, it's youth theater. We have Luis Reyes Cardenas here from Open Hydrant Theatre, which is uh, will shouts to the world that it's the only professional AEA ensemble theater in the Bronx. I hope I got that right. If not, Luis will come in and correct me in a moment. But they do great work. I'm I'm going to find out from Luis what has happened during COVID. Um, I'd like him to talk a little bit about the origin of the company to start with, and you're here with me now on the screen in our gallery view for YouTube. So, Luis, say hello and tell us when you started Open Hydrant and why you started Open Hydrant.
Sure. We officially started 7 years ago. I work in the charter world, charter school movement in New York City, and for 30 years, I've been working with other partners to create opportunities for our underserved youth in what we call Title I areas, which is really a low-income area, mostly diverse Black, Latino youth, and creating college opportunity. And that's what I've done. And that's what I create arts programs in those schools across the country now. And got to a point where we were doing the arts for enrichment, just as something to offer for a youth to create and to expand. But then what happened was my youth would graduate, and I would have a lot of questions from my youth about how do I do this professionally, or how do I go out and become an actor? How do I do this for a living? Which was something that I never thought about. So that's the beginning of how we started thinking about what we could do to be a bridge for a lot of our community that just did not have the resources. And what we found when we were in the charter schools was that theater was just not at all accessible to them, especially Broadway theater.
Was it even on their radar? I mean, that's what always concerns me. They don't even know that it's an option, do they?
No, and especially since financially, it's absolutely not an option when it comes to trying to be affordable. So it just wasn't something in their life. And then what I wanted to do was create something that would allow for anyone that didn't have the thousands and thousands of dollars to go to a summer camp to, have something for that family. And Open Hydrant started because I had youth that were going into the world, were going into acting classes, were going into the professional world, and the acting teacher would tell them to live truthfully. Stop trying to act, just be yourself, your authentic self. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to be. And then my students would do that. They would follow that instruction, which is the right instruction, but then something interesting happened. when they would try to get jobs, the casting people at that time really would only see their color of the skin. So it was like gang member role. It was a lot of nurses, not doctors. It was interesting, the roles that they were being offered because of the way that they spoke, the patterns of their voice put them in a very specific place. And they couldn't get past stereotypical sort of ideas of what they were. And which is interesting because they were just doing exactly what they were told. So we knew that we had to do something about that. And without ever infringing on anyone's self, but trying to figure out how do we expand your understanding of what acting can be and to be able to, to do that. And so what I did was, like I do with our charter schools, I felt since we had been so successful with our charter schools, I thought, why not use all that information that we already spent millions of dollars on and see how I could figure out how to bridge that dropout rate? Because that's what I did in charter schools, is we want to bridge the dropout rate. Found out that there was an enormous dropout rate for artists as well. And so there was like this parallel of the two that I spend my life trying to figure out. And then I went into acting and I thought, okay, what's the dropout rate? Why does it exist? And found that it just was very difficult for my students to get jobs. And so what was it that would help them raise and rise to the place that they could be able to be considered for parts? And I did exactly what I did. I go into a community. Right now we're in Hunts Point in the Bronx, and it has a very interesting history. And we go somewhere where there's a need. So we went where we needed to really put something up that there would be a lot of support because of that need. And then we find the common denominators in the area that are successful. And that common denominator is what we then use, that denominator, to start. We start with that, and then we build from that denominator of success. So that's what I did. I looked at the actors of color that I absolutely loved. It was interesting because, you look at someone like Daniel Kaluuya in the movie Get Out, and he just won an Oscar, and you look at his work, and it's not that, it's different than what Taye Diggs is doing. And it's interesting, Taye Diggs is on a TV show right now called All American, and there's an actor that plays opposite him, that's just doing work that just was something different. It's not that it's, I don't know, it's kind of like you can go to H&M or you can go to Louis Vuitton. It's just, they're so close. It's just that there's a level of ability that's something that's different, that it's richer and deeper. So I wanted to know what that was. So I picked the 5 actors of color that I absolutely thought were doing something that I wasn't seeing. And I found out that they were all British. And so that,
can I jump in for a second? Because
sure.
You're saying something that I think has it's a broader topic than just acting. It's basically why we're in this moment right now with the need for diversity in our business. We have a sameness in all aspects of our business. I have this problem as somebody that solicits plays for our reading series. We don't get that many plays that are diverse voices. And my problem is my readers don't understand when they do hear a diverse play that's written by somebody who's not from the typical background. So you're paralleling this with what was happening with your actors. People were not seeing past the difference. Are you heading to saying that you found that more British actors were able to transverse this?
Yeah, what I saw was that there must be something different in their training. And so it was a training thing that we realized that we needed to start putting our time towards. And so what we said was, then you know what? Then we needed to really look at what was going to not infringe on someone's authentic self, but to give them an inspiration to rise to a level that would allow them to see characters of all types, not just simply a type, but all types. So we decided that theater was going to be what it was we used as our training ground to be able to not only offer the opportunity just to be in a play, but it was a very specific type of play. So we chose musicals and we chose Shakespeare. Those were the 2 things that we decided we would do, because that would then force, in a inspirational way, a child to rise above their rhythms and above their patterns, to be able to start seeing it from above, and that training would be, for us, what we felt would be effective for them to want to then journey into a professional world, but that would be up to them. And we decided that we would just do musicals and Shakespeare plays and allow them to learn about the world of theater. And so what we do is we start at 5 years old, and we have different divisions that go from 5 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to like 18. And then we now have adults because our students have now graduated and have become adults. And so it's really a resource for any youth of our community at no charge to be able to participate in musicals and Shakespeare and to be able to find their love and passion. And then when they become 18, we decided that we would start a division where we would then now expand into professional work.
Well,
So
let me
really
ask
what
you this. Let me ask you this, Luis. What percentage of these kids stay in theater as a profession, and what percent are simply uh, changed by being part of this and maybe become part of the future of theater because they're going to grow up and love theater? I mean,
do you mean in the
I think what you're
program?
doing is important on two levels. I think it's important for the kids individually and careers, but I think it's also important for theater because there is no theater if we don't have a future, if we don't have children, young people who grow up and love theater and attend theater and support theater, whether they're in it or not. Um, do you disagree with that in any
No,
way?
not at all. I mean, we have data based on just our own youth that continue working through theater, and then we also have data that just in general, the young artists, the young, that goes into a profession. We only know like 1% really actually, make a living of this and really do it. And then of that 1%, I don't know how many even make enough to actually live. But our goal is to want to be able to, anyone that wants to pursue this as a career and want to make a living at it, that we have that resource for them. Because right now, so many of our youth just get conned and scammed by programs that make them pay all this money. And it really is more about them understanding that journey. And so we work in divisions. And then, so Open Hydrant Theater Company does a few things. We travel into schools and we do after school programming. And we work with elementary age youth doing like 20-minute shows. And then we do production. We do the shows at our theater, so that we do that. We also do youth theater traveling. So we travel with shows and we do a lot of corporate events. We do a lot of companies that ask us to bring the youth to perform. We do shows on bullying, shows on consent, shows on unconscious bias, different things that we then also perform at our schools. And then we take and we do musicals and Shakespeare, and we kind of bridge musicals and Shakespeare together by doing musical adaptations of theater greats, of shows that have like lived the span of time, and we adapt them into musicals, and we travel and tour. So that's what Open Hydrant does, and we work under a youth theater contract through Equity, and then we also started an Urban Waves community theater because there were many people that just wanted to be enriched. It wasn't about doing this as a profession. So we expanded into a community theater. We do a full season of shows each year. This year, we always do a short play festival, an original short play festival. We do an event at Future Fest at 54 Below. And then we're doing Steel Magnolias this year. We're doing Almost Maine, and then we're doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat as the community theater bridge. And then from that,
I'm not sure I'm clear about that. So just explain this to me. You have your children's program that's over here. Then over here you have your community theater. And what bridges them? Do you
so we have
involve
one
your
that's
kids?
basically one that's union and one that's non-union. So we have a unionized company that is what Open Hydrant is and what it works to continue doing and offering equity work for the actor on a professional level. And then we have many community people that don't want to pursue acting as a profession, aren't looking to do this in any kind of way, but simply to be enriched with the creative arts. So we started a community theater, which is part of Open Hydrant, but it's something that is non-unionized and is completely about just allowing our community to participate in theater plays by directing, costuming, stage managing, all the elements that come with theater, just to be enriched.
I may have missed a beat here somewhere. We started talking about kids. So it's an equity company, but the kids are not equity.
The kids are part of Open Hydrant, and they're part of Urban Waves. And then what we started was a professional training program for young youth children that want to pursue acting as a career. And so we started a technique. We've created an acting technique that we use. Mostly it's audition based, and it is learning how to audition really is what it's about, because no matter how talented you are, if you're not in the room where it's happening, it doesn't matter. And so we train young artists to be professionals. Some of our recent successes, we just have a youth just got cast as the young Michael Jackson in the Broadway musical, Michael Jackson. We have students that are now working, making a living, been on Broadway, doing films, working on lots of TV, just have kids right now, doing shows like Billions, Power, doing the Wu-Tang group that just came out. We have a lot of youth working professionally. So we focus on the youth, but the youth grow up and the youth have to go somewhere. And so we decided to continue working with them as adults because—
So are your productions cast all from the youth, or do you have some equity actors who are part of your productions and to give it a little bit more of a—
Yeah, just imagine them starting when they're 5 years old, and they just keep growing and getting older. And we cast all ages. We are all of our tours, all of in-school programming are artists and residents that come in, and they work with us and learn a bit about how to and what can you do with youth, and what are we're always learning data, how to be able to get better at what we do, how do we expand. But yeah, everything that we do is geared towards the youth. And if the youth participate, adults also can act in our youth productions, but they're all shows that are made and created to be able to really be more family entertainment, family engaged entertainment, and to allow for our community to be able to come to a show with their kids and be able to enjoy a classic.
So in your community theater, your productions are cast age appropriate.
Yes.
So you have members of the community of all ages, 5 to 95, and they take the parts that would be appropriate for them. In your kids training, they're doing work that would not, they're playing older. They're not necessarily playing.
So
kids.
we have 3 divisions of our kids. We have kids, which is 5-year-olds to 8 years old, and they're doing the Grinch Who Stole Christmas right now. Then we have our 9-year-olds to our 13-year-olds, and they're doing Frozen Junior right now. And then we have our 14-year-olds to our 18-year-olds, which we call our teens, and they're doing Rent.
And this is all happening at the same time?
Yes.
Oh my Lord! How big a staff do you have to run?
Well, right now we have an ensemble. So we have an ensemble that we are building. We kind of call it a fraternity or a sorority, gives it a better understanding of what we are. So we have 30 strong ensemble members in our company that are one of the requirements is they have to want to pursue acting, the arts, directing, any sort of it as a profession. So that would be what we have just as our ensemble, and they all dedicate and donate their work to be able to keep building the company and keep building what we're doing. And then we have, we do have a leadership that's involved, but we're at the Point, which is the CDC. So the Point CDC has been in business for 25 years, and they are a multi-million-dollar not-for-profit in the Bronx that has served to bridge creativity with the community. And so they're our partners in what we do, and we would never have ever been without them. They, in essence, were the umbrella for us for many years till we became our own 501c3. And then now, we work and partner with them. So they've been doing the work there for 25 years before us.
So do you have situations where the kids become interested in theater and they have families that don't get it? It's like, why?
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
How do you deal with the families? How do you educate the families?
Well, we don't pursue or push the youth to professional work until they're 18. So when they turn 18, they make a choice of joining our professional ensemble. And then there's where we start training and working towards making it a career. For the ones that are younger, the families that get it. And they are already, a lot of times they find us because they're already pursuing professional work as a child actor, and they're looking for something in their community. So we already can pair with them. So we don't really have that issue with those families because they already have the support. The ones that don't support and want, the kid finds us, and then they want to work professionally. If we can't get the family support, which is most of the time, because of the demands of what it takes to be a child actor. I mean, just to drive into Manhattan's $50, to park, it becomes a very interesting dilemma. So they work under the youth programming, and when they turn 18 is then when we take over and control with them as professionals. So it is hard for us sometimes to watch a very talented young adult who wants to pursue acting as a career, but does not have a support or any sort of background. So all we can do is keep inspiring them to want to go at it, but we can't do anything really until they become of age.
So let's see, where's the question? Somebody asked a question, I can't find it now.
Judy Binus.
Where is it? Oh, did the Open Hydrant kids want a career in the theater who are not guest artists? Do your Open Hydrant kids ever become equity members, or are they?
Oh yeah, we've had about 15 youth become equity members. 15.
Okay, and what was the path for that? Were any of them equity members when they came to you, or that?
No. I mean, it's interesting. Now equity, has made it a lot easier to join. But when we were there before, they would have to work in one of our work. So we work under a contract with equity, which is it's a theater contract for youth. So it's youth theater. And so it's kind of like Theater Works. It's the same thing that, other schools.
Finally starting to understand. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I'm finally starting to understand. So the reason why you refer to yourself as an AEA company is because when the kids work with Open Hydrant, they become eligible to join equity?
Yes.
Got it. I don't know why I couldn't figure that out, but it was like, what? What is the? I couldn't connect the dots. So that's it. So you're an equity approved company.
Yes.
That offers kids an opportunity to actually participate in theatrical productions with you that will make them eligible for equity membership.
Yes, we negotiate a contract every year with equity. It's a theater for youth audiences. So we used to work under a different contract, which was a small professional theater. So when we started, we were going to work. We're considered New York City. So if anyone that's produced understands that, even though we're at the end of the Bronx, we are still New York City, which makes it ridiculously expensive, ridiculously, special, because we're still New York. So we had to negotiate with equity a way for us to not be in that sort of like area, because it just made it impossible to actually do anything. So they did. For 3 years, they allowed us to take on a small professional theater contract, which is something that's outside of New York. And that is a much more manageable, reasonable way for us to be able to work. And so we did that for 3 years, building our relationship with equity. And then once that ended, we had to decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to become an off-Broadway theater? Are we going to become, a not-for-profit off-Broadway theater? Because we're off-Broadway essentially. And then they allowed us to do a theater for young audiences contract, which is what we want to do anyway, which is to be able to have our shows be educational shows for for our families. There are specific guidelines you follow under this contract, but that's what we decided to do, which then allowed us to still continue to grow, because it was very, very flexible for us to keep working every season. And then through those seasons, many of our youth that grew up and wanted to become part of Actors Equity could work through our professional company. But we also wanted to serve all the actors that didn't want to pursue professional work. So that's why Urban Waves was created, so that we could also have a venue for anyone that just wants to be artistic and creative voluntarily, but just simply, I want to play Malin and Steel Magnolias. Okay, let's do it. Why not? So we just wanted to be able to have that.
So let's move a little bit to COVID and the shutdown. If you're an AEA company, then there were strict restrictions on what you could or could not do with your company. So yes. What happened to you on March 15th or March 12th?
We were in the middle of Les Miserables. We were doing for the teenagers, which
that's a big middle to be in.
We had an amazing cast. It was kind of like the graduating group of that year. We had the special cast for that. We were in the middle of.
Let me just ask you something. How many actors did you use for your Les Mis?
We had about 35 youth in it, and then we were in the middle of Aladdin Jr. And then we were in. We were doing The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and we were doing that. We also were in the middle of our place for some of the adults, and it all just stopped. Like all of it had to stop. And then through the pandemic, we decided that we want to stay creative. So we did Beauty and the Beast virtually. And so we that just actually today finally has been edited and finished. And so we did that.
You recorded it and then you edited it in post-production.
Oh, it was cast from all over the world, and no one was in the same room at the same time, and we put it all together. We also have Spring Awakening that we did with the older kids, which you were editing still, but we did Spring Awakening and Beauty and the Beast virtually.
Give us a little bit of insight into what editing it still means. How long? Because we all know in this room, we're all well aware that it is so impossible to do more than one voice singing at a time, and that if you have a duet, trio, or an ensemble, you have to record every track individually and then put them together in post production. How time consuming is that? How long have you been editing Beauty and the Beast?
We've been editing Beauty and the Beast for 5 months.
5 months.
Yes. And that's what I found. Many people, they quit. You know, they're just so overwhelmed. And there's been many a day we were like, we're done with this. I'm done with this. But that's one thing that we have found in our training with ourselves and with everyone is, you know, just because there's turbulence, you don't land your plane. You got to keep going. And, you know, and a lot of people just keep landing their planes, wondering why they're not getting anywhere. Well, we decided, well, our bodies were meant to be turbulent and we got to get through it. And so that's another reason why I feel we've been very successful and keep growing, is because that mindset is very important for our youth to understand.
What is your game plan with the recorded version of Beauty and the Beast and the recorded version of the other one that you, what was the other show you said?
Spring Awakening, yes. So we're using it as a fundraiser. You know, they both in essence bankrupted us because we had to put everything we had into it, and so now we're starting over. And so we're using it as a fundraiser to be able to help us get started with this. You know, we're back. We are back in the theater with a lot of restriction. And we are working day by day to make sure that we first fulfilled Equity's very, very detailed needs for COVID-19. And then we also are, you know, we have a lot in our community. We have a lot of things. We have a lot of people who aren't vaccinated. They won't get vaccinated in our community. There's a lot of reasons. And so we are left in a place where it's tough because we're out here as an outreach for our youth and for our community. But we also have explicit instructions from Equity. No one who's not vaccinated can be, you know, involved. So we are working through all of these.
So that immediately means any of your kids who are 12 or under, they can't be vaccinated.
Yes, they can't be. And right now there is there's two places. There's two things here. There's a Equity showcase, which is what a lot of you probably do when you're trying to utilize Equity actors. There are no exceptions, no excuses right now. There's no exemptions for unvaccinated under that contract. For a negotiated contract with Equity, there is an unvaccinated section that you can work through with them for unvaccinated actors or any artists or employees, but it has to be through a negotiated contract with them. But a showcase contract, there's right now no exemptions for unvaccinated.
Oh boy. Well, first of all, if anybody here wants to support you, do you have a link that they can go to?
Absolutely. Here, I'll put it in the, I think Ivan put it actually. Yeah, she has it there. Our website is there. We've worked with Ivan before with her children as well through Future Fest. And she's also edited a few things beautifully for us. And so she brought her kids years ago. Ivan used to have very short hair, so seeing her with long hair, I'm just already going, whoa, look at that. So but she's been very, very involved, her husband as well, and supportive of the work that we have done since the beginning, since the get-go. So it's great to see her here.
I didn't know that. Even you get around, don't you?
Sometimes.
Even is everywhere. Even is everywhere. So I want to say to the room right now that you have something called a reactions app window. If you click on reactions, it will open up a window and you'll see the opportunity of doing a hand raise. So if you have any questions about the programs that Luis has talked about so far, please raise your hand, or if you just want to ask a question, put it into the chat. Um, and I see Eben is putting in different levels.
Sure. Our
Different
short
levels of
plays
support.
range from all ages, all types. We take everything as long as they're 10 minutes, 15 minutes long. 20 minutes is, pushing it, but within that 10 to 20 minute realm, we read all of them. And every year in the fall, we do a short play festival. So our short play festival right now is in 2 sets. We have set A, which is 7 short plays, and then set B, which is 7 short plays. So we're doing 14 short plays right now. That we're actually rehearsing and going to put up in November for our short play festival. So we do 14 short plays every year, and we get about 300 or 400 submissions a year. So yeah, submissions at openhydrant.org is where you can begin that process. If you have a short play that you'd like to submit, we produce it. So it's completely produced. It's a director comes in, they then hire the actors through an audition process, and then we have a technical crew that comes in and we present the play. So and we work with our writers if they want to work directly. If they're in New York City, we do that too.
So that's Urban Waves.
That's Urban Waves, yes.
So we can all go to Open Hydrant to your website, right?
Yes.
The thing that's interesting about your website that I just want everybody to know is it's got a zoom box frames of different things like 4, 4, and 4. You actually have to, if you click on those, it'll open up information about the program. I think there's like what. I didn't know this. I'm just saying this for people because I didn't know. I kept thinking, where do I click? Where do I click? You click actually on the pictures, and you'll get.
And the short plays also don't need to be, family oriented or children oriented. So don't think that that's a demand for that. But for Open Hydrant, if you submit a play, we are looking for educational plays, theater for youth plays. As we expand and grow, we are looking for educational shows. We are, people ask us all the time, do you have this type of show, this type of show? So we are looking for that. And the way that we find our writers and our directors, I kind of look at it like dating. We're not going to get married immediately, but if you submit, we like to work through the short play festival because that allows us to get to know you and really see your work. I don't think a 2-minute interview really does wonders. This is our life's work. I don't know how we're going to pick and choose people's lives by just 2 minutes. So we like to work together. So we think the short play festival is a great way for us to do that.
So we have a question from Walter Robinson and then one from Tita Antares. So Walter, do you want to ask your question? Walter?
Yeah, congratulations, Louis. I just, what is I'm a little bit confused. I went to the website. I have something I want to submit to you. Is there a deadline or it's ongoing?
No, it's ongoing, but we only do the short plays once a year in the fall. So it's only once a year. And, but right now we are now expanding Open Hydrant into tours, into traveling. And, we're now, we're working on the funding to be able to have the resources to be able to create these projects. So we are accepting anything that's youth oriented or might be involving youth or talk about, topics that youth would definitely want to, that's why we're talking about consent or bullying. Bullying's huge. It's huge. Anything that's going to talk about something that should be educational for a young soul is important for us.
How about anti-drug?
Yes, anti-drug, absolutely.
Okay,
And
good.
then there's a question about the skills they learn in theater work to other careers. Yes, so the professional company that we started, we have 15 youth. Well, now they're adults because they're 18 and over, but they were our youth. They are working, they all work professionally now because we created an audition technique that we utilize because we just, again, no matter how talented you are, if you're not in the room where they make the decisions that you can get hired, then it doesn't matter. So we have to get you into the rooms. And so we developed a process because we wanted the ones that truly wanted to pursue this as a living to really step above and rise above. So we started a professional group and it's working. We literally, every week there's a new job, something new happening. We have many that they've already shot. We have one kid just got back from Seattle who did a movie with Michelle Williams for A24 Films. We have a film that Ray Romano just directed with one of our youth playing his son. There's just a lot of things happening.
Okay,
But
had to get
yes,
to Ray Romano.
yes, there is a difference from theater and from TV, but in the end, though, acting is acting, and they're
I'm just impressed that you actually got somebody like Ray Romano. That's great.
oh yeah, they're learning quite a bit. The professional group has taken a step above everyone else, because making a living at this, as we all know, it's just very difficult to find a path towards that. So we needed to talk about that path. We needed to make sure it was real. It's the same thing in charter schools when we talk about kids going to college. You know, if you're going to go to college, well, why not Harvard or Stanford? You know, I mean, college is great, but then if we're going to go to the Olympics, you know, what more is it to win the gold medal? I mean, is it a lot or not? And so we have to really train to understand what that really is about. And our students are, they're learning that TV and film is actually, you can make a living. So we have not lost our love for theater, but our professional group is really, they're doing a lot more TV and film, getting a bank account, and then opening themselves to the possibility of doing a theater show for the no pay that they're going to get, but they are definitely still theater people. So we're doing a theater training that is really bridging in TV and film acting as well.
Tita, did you want to add anything to your question? You have your hand raised now.
Yes, I would. My question was really the opposite of what you said. It's really hard to be a successful actor full time, no matter how well you train people. Life interferes, etc. I mean, I've seen a lot of really famous people descend into depression. And so I was wondering if you have ways of helping students who love theater learn how to use those skills that they learn. For example, a lawyer needs to know how to talk to people. So does a minister. A community organizer or a teacher can use the skills that you use for understanding character.
Sure. We
Bridges.
actually work with the American Debate League, and we do speech and debates. So we work through a speech and debate program, which is a public speaking program to empower our youth to be able to just find the power to speak publicly and to be able to use those resources if they're not choosing a career in the arts. So yeah, speech and debate. And that's actually what I do at Stanford University. I teach speech and debate in the summer for youth. So we are empowering our youth to be able to find their voice and to utilize their voice in any career that they want to use. But for Open Hydrants purposes, we absolutely want to find those youth that would not or could not pursue a career without a resource of some sort. And mostly it's a training resource that they don't have.
You would be in A, so you would probably just have to make sure.
I didn't get that, I'm sorry.
Donna? Oh, maybe Donna didn't mean to be asking a question.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so we definitely do have a program for youth that aren't pursuing the arts as a career. And we use speech and debate. So we do a lot. We travel to universities and do debate programs and debate competitions and understand how to use their voice and speech. So I don't know if you've ever done speech and debate, but there's a very highly competitive sort of world out there that exists as well.
It's interesting. You're very focused on the professional development aspect of what you do. And I'm very focused on the philosophy of the abstract philosophy of it all, which is basically that you're opening up the world of theater to an entire generation that would not know about it otherwise or not understand it otherwise. So I think your work is important, even if your people don't become professional actors. I think just giving them a love of theater that maybe they can give to other people. We need that. Theater.
Yeah, we have many youth. We have many youth that aren't pursuing the arts. That that's why also Urban Waves was created, so that there was an outlet for them to still be creative and to still be enriched by the arts without any professional mindset, but simply creation. And
don't get me wrong. I think it's great that so many of them go into the profession, but I mean, also I agree with what Tita's saying, which is it's a very difficult. Acting is a very difficult profession, and the opportunities are.
But
so
I have
limited.
to say, I would have to say, of our 15 members of our professional group, 12 of them are making a living at acting. So I would have to then say, yes, it's difficult, but that's again what we have to do like in our charter school world, we got to bridge the percentage of dropouts. There is a way to do that. We've proven in our schools that you can do that. So it is difficult, but again, that's only for the few that want to pursue that on another level. That's a whole different kind of conversation, a whole different kind of work. So it is very difficult, but 12 of the 15 are making a living. It's an interesting discussion.
I want to respond to Jessica Guru. She says, as a middle school theater teacher, it's great to justify why everyone needs theater. But I love this idea that this training is to create the reality of work in theater instead of perpetuating the misguided philosophy that art doesn't need to be paid, even though it is important.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that art doesn't need to be paid. What I'm saying is that commercial theater and all theater needs audiences. And we already know how difficult it is to get young people into theater. Young people don't go to Broadway. However, if they don't have an interest in theater, they're not going to eventually grow into the audiences for commercial Broadway. So I'm looking at the business, the health of the business itself.
Well, one thing I do want to say is that over the 7 years that we've been doing this, when a question like that is brought up, a new program is designed at our company, because we want to fulfill and be able to offer to everyone in every sort of place where someone's at, because there is no right way, right? It's just, how do you offer the opportunity, or how do you become the resource? And then you realize there's more need for this resource and there's more need for this resource. So we keep growing because we want to be a resource for all who come into our doors, and whatever they are wanting to pursue, we want to be able to have a resource for them. And so that's why we just keep growing, because there should be anyone that walks in that wants something, that we should be able to offer it to them.
So basically, you said something very crucial a little bit ago, which basically that the recording and editing of these two shows has made you broke. It's eaten up all of your funds. How do you keep yourself running? Where does your money come from? Is it grants? Is it individual donors?
Well, our first thing that we did was we partnered with an organization that already had established itself. So we needed to make sure that we had a big brother, big sister. We come from a fraternity sorority idea. Okay. So we knew that we needed to have, so the Point CDC was something that we had done a film called Shakespeare High. And then Lin-Manuel Miranda tweeted it. So we had all this juicy sort of thing happening for a short period of time.
When was this?
And, it's called Shakespeare High.
No, when was this?
This was 1980, I'm sorry, 1980, my gosh. 2008 is when the film finally was produced. And about 2000 and God, it must have been 14, we had finally got into festivals. And then we had gone on a tour around the world. And then we had this movie that we were able to present to the Point that it was just, I didn't know where we were going to have our company. And all of a sudden, one of my students said, oh, look, there's a theater in the Bronx in Hunts Point, they never use it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she had said that she had taken a tap dance class there. So I went and we walked in and we were like, oh my gosh, no one is using this theater. You can't be serious. And so we had presented it to the artistic directors and the president of the Point and said, no, look here, this is what we do. And, would you be interested? And they were like, come on in, and so we partnered with them, and they had already established themselves. So we had 3 or 4 years where we would not exist without them, because they opened their doors and gave us the space, gave us the resources, gave us the office, gave us everything, because we were then bringing in from the community, the youth, because they were already working with the youth in the community of arts. The Cirque du Soleil was there, photography, dance, they had all the sort of elements of art except theater. And so we became the theater component. So we partnered with someone that already was established. And then from there, they were able to get the grants. They were able to get all of the resources. And then we have built our funders.
So they're also functioning as a fiscal sponsor for you? Or
they were when we were not a 501c3.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So a fiscal sponsor, we were able to present to them something that they weren't offering in their programming. And sometimes people, it's interesting that you'd be amazed just by walking in and asking what could happen. People, you just sent, just walking in the doors, which is what we did, and said, hey, do you guys want to do theater here? And they were like, who are you? And then that's just how it began, walking in off the streets into the door of a once it went online to realize there was no theater, we knew that we at least had something we could offer. And then we partnered, and it's been a bliss since. They've been unbelievable since we started.
So it's not only the fact that you had the gumption to go in and ask, it was also that you evaluated the opportunity, which is important. A lot of people ask for things without evaluating the reality of it.
Yes.
A
We
lot
did
of
our
us in the
research.
arts,
Yes.
You did your research. I just want to emphasize that. It's a great story. It's a great, maybe other people can do this kind of story, but you have to make sure that you're being realistic about what you offer and what they need.
Yes, you have to weigh those. That comes with my experience in charter schools, and you are wanting to start these programs in an area, but you've got to go and see what's working, and if something is working and what's not working. And that's why we use the common denominator analogy, because what is the denominator of success around here? And then can you offer that denominator, because that's what's missing in the equation.
Right now, how many resident companies does the Point? Well, right now, this is like post-pandemic. I don't know. Pre-pandemic, how many resident companies did the Point have besides you?
For theater?
Yeah.
Or just none?
For theater, none. Okay, you're it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have a dance company, or
they don't have a dance company anymore. They did before. Right now, ICP photography is there. Cirque du Soleil, which is a circus after school activity for the community, is there. They have music. They have a civics program that's there as well. Agriculture program as well. That's their photography. So it's a mix of different things. They're a wonderful resource. You should check them out, thepoint.org.
And so let's go back to the COVID story. So you went from, you had to close down all your live stuff. You did take the initiative to do something active during shutdown, and you did do these videotapings of these two shows. Now, what is your game plan? Are you going back to live programming?
Yes, we are back at live programming, have a full season. We're back at the youth theater doing, like I said earlier, the shows, and we are we're getting back into the space. A lot of restrictions, but we are following them, and we need to be a resource again for our community. There's just too many youth that don't know where to go or what to do or how to, and they don't know where to step in. And so we have to be there for them, to be able to be, that conversation, and to, because what people aren't understanding is sometimes theater, I don't know, it's like, look at like Hamilton, right? The show that every kid should see, every person should see, and the public theater, but it's like not accessible to the kids because it's so expensive. And then what happens is, yes, Disney Plus is presenting it as a TV televised event, which is a beautiful thing. It's not theater though. I mean, it's not theater, right? We can't act like it's the same watching a TV version of something and actually sitting in a theater and watching it live. So I believe in the goodwill of everyone, and but we have to still remember what theater is and what it represents and how that connection of live in person. So we have to get back into the theater to be able to have those conversations.
And also, I just want to go on record as saying that the theater isn't all elitist. I mean, commercial theater in Broadway is elitist, but there's a lot of theater that happens all over the world, all over the country, and all over New York that is more accessible. Just because it's not Broadway doesn't mean it's not theater. So I just want to emphasize the point that there are other opportunities for young people and for people in diverse communities to have the theater experience. And we have to make sure that we can continue to provide those, because we need all audiences in this business. We need them all. I see a question that wasn't answered from Randall. He basically saying, is there a primer on terminology for children and youth theater? How do you specifically note this is a show for children performed by adults versus this is a show for all ages performed by children? Are there ways of designating that, or?
Sure. Well, if it's Open Hydrant, it's all for children. It's all for families. It's all Open Hydrant Theater Company. It's all geared towards children. Urban Waves is not Open Hydrant. It's just a division of Open Hydrant, which then we do have disclaimers and things like that. But so that's how we distinguish. If it's Open Hydrant Theater Company, it's all for children, families.
Okay. Any other questions from the room? Anybody want to raise a hand or jump in and make a comment or say anything? I go through this every week. and when I'm about to say, okay, we're going to wind up, then the hands go up. So there we go. We got a hand. Randall.
Hey, just following up on the question that was just answered. I'm wondering on a broader scale, outside of your theater company, Louis, is there a way, let's say I want to write for children, I want to write plays for children to be performed versus I want to write plays targeted at children performed by adults. Is there terminology in the world of youth and children's theater? I mean, I know the junior concept has worked really well to say, oh, this is a play that is going to be put on by kids.
Yes.
Is there
That
more
is
terminology?
really correct. Kids, junior, teens, those words are always used when it's geared towards them, geared towards, to be performed by them.
Right.
Right. That is what they use for the terminology for performances by children. But then if it's to be performed by adults for children, well, then that is different. And then that's what we do under our tours. What we do when we tour and do shows at schools, they're usually by adults.
Is Luis, is that by any chance TYA, Theater for Young Artists?
TYA, yes. So there's a Theater for Young Audiences terminology that they use for adults that are performing in children's material or plays meant for youth. So TYA would be that terminology, Theater for Young Audiences.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I got one. Okay. What's there's a new message. Oh, junior. Jessica saying junior usually implies there is a non-junior version. So if you say that something's a junior, then it, like Spring Awakening Junior versus Spring Awakening. But speaking of which version do you do of these shows? Beauty and the Beast.
Our 5-year-old to 8-year-olds will do a kids version, and then our 9-year-olds to 13-year-olds will do a junior version, and then our high school kids will do the regular version of the show, unless it's not available. Like Rent right now, we can't get the rights. We've tried for 5 years to get the rights to Rent. We haven't been able to, based on the tours or professional shows that are existing in the world right now. So we finally were able to get the rights to the school edition. So we're doing a school edition, but the high school teens will always try to do the show as written full out.
Well, it's kind of remarkable what you do. Congratulations on it. I've been an admirer of yours now since it's been a couple of years now that we've known each other, maybe more than a couple.
We met at the beginning.
So when did Open Hydrant first start? I didn't
7 years ago, we officially began.
So I know you since you started.
7 years, yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Back then, it was just an idea. We were like, we want to do theater. And we've learned so much because of these. I want to thank everyone here for being open about your questions and about what your ideas are, because we have grown in a way because of those questions, because of those thoughts, because of looking at how do we serve everyone. Because, when you present that to a board, they're like, what? But I strongly believe we need to make sure that there is a resource, because we want to be a resource for all situations, and we need to always be open to that. And we don't know sometimes what those pockets are until we are presented with the pocket. And so I want to thank everyone for always being very open, because we started the community theater because of a conversation of this. We started the speech and debate because of conversation. We wanted to make sure that anyone that walks into our doors, there is a place for you to go and feel successful and open your eyes to the world of theater.
Thank you so much, Luis. And I think that's a nice summary. We're gonna end now, and I'm gonna thank you for being with us today. And I was also going to remind everybody that we're not getting that many donations anymore. You know, I keep saying we're in good shape, we're in good shape, and people haven't been donating to us as much. We're still okay, but just if I can kind of convince you that it might be helpful if you go to our website, trueonline.org/make a donation, make-a-donation, or Joe Nelms, you're here. Are you still here? No, Joe Nelms isn't here to put it in. It's True Donate, trudonate.com, trudonate.com. And also be generous with Open Hydrant. It sounds like they do good work and they need your support. So YouTube viewers as well, go to Open Hydrant. I'm waiting to read it to you, to the YouTube viewers. Openhydrant.com. Where is your URL? Let me find it. www.openhydrant.org. So everybody go to www.openhydrant.org and support the work that they're doing, and support True if you can as well. And we're now going to go into breakout rooms. Wait, I see a message. There it is. Okay, we're going to go into breakout rooms. Luis, are you able to stay a little while, or do you need to go?
Sure, I can stay.
Okay, so I'm going to make breakout rooms for those of you who want to meet each other. I'm going to make it a do-it-yourself. Let participants choose. I'm clicking that. Let participants choose. I'm going to make 3 rooms. Luis, I'm going to ask you to go into room 1, and anybody who wants to meet you in room 1 can go into room 1. Jane Dubin, are you here? Jane Dubin, I'm going to ask you to go into room 2.
I am.
What? Okay.
I am here. Yes.
And Murray Davis, I'm going to ask you to go into room 3 as a board member so people can ask you questions about True. So that's it for us. And now I'm going to ask everybody to turn on their video, or ask me to turn it on if you can't turn it on. And I'm going to take off the hide non-video participants thing. And
Can you turn me on, Bob? Walter.
Walter, there you are.
You need to turn me on too. Oh. Even.
Yeah, got it.
Even, you should be careful what you ask for.
I'm going to turn you on. I'm going to turn
Okay.
you on.
God, not going there.
I put in the chat to you, The Guardian did a documentary about our work with speech and debate, because there were a lot of questions about why is it all about just being a professional? Why can't, and so we wanted to make sure that people understood we also work so much on just making public speaking an art in itself without any professional outreach. So The Guardian did a doc on us. It's a short doc. I put it there for you. You can see as well.
Let's see. Is that in the chat now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a YouTube. Yeah.
Bob, I'm staying off video. I'm icing my foot.
You're icing your foot. Okay.
Living in the Bronx is hard because you have this
that?
that you're not gonna make it in life.
So is that you, Bob?
Less than other people.
No, it's not.
I think someone clicked it, and then but it's.
Yeah.
What was that? So anyway, so I'm going to open all the rooms now, and you can follow Luis into room 1, follow Jane into room 2, or follow Murray into room 3. Or you can ask me for help. I'm in a new phase of my braces. So I went to the orthodontist today, and now they want me to put the rubber bands in, and so they've got these little hooks that are digging into my cheek.
True.
Got to deal with that.
Bob, can I get in room 1 or?
Yes, I can do that. If you can't do it, I can put you in room 1.
Okay, thanks.
Walter, where are you?
I like one also.
I would like to be in room 1, please.
Okay, Arlene Corsano in room 1.
And you,
Stephanie Schwartz goes to room 1. Murray is going into room 3.
Bob,
I have to leave now, but thank you so much. I'll join next meetings if
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much. This was so inspiring.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad. I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, it's same. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Joshua, Arlene, I thought I assigned you to room 1.
I've
Arlene?
actually got to head out as well, unfortunately, but I really enjoyed
The
this
2 new
opportunity.
people had
Thank
to
you so
leave,
much.
so all the
I
old
know,
guys have to.
I've got a night job, so
Do you? What do you do?
I do. Do you know the website WikiHow? Ever heard of it?
Wiki.
WikiHow.
Oh,
HOW.
Wiki. I thought you said Wiki Hell. Yeah, I know
It's
Wiki Hell too.
Not dissimilar. I write some of the how-to articles for them.
Oh, okay. Maybe you'd write
So
something for True at some point.
It's maybe, yeah, I would love that. So
Write a
I'm
little
writing
editorial.
about oddly enough, I'm gonna write about how to throw a keg party tonight. So, there you go.
Buy a keg, throw a party. What is it?
You would think, but it's like, no, you need 8 steps. So I'm like, okay, so I have to figure it out. But again, thank you so much, and I will follow up to you with the workshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Arlene,
All right.
you have
Thank
How
you.
come I'm still here? I
You've been
don't know.
invited because you've been invited to join room 1 and you haven't joined it.
I didn't, what do I have to, I can't say leave. Where's my invite?
Or will
Oh, let me
recording.
stop.